So, as you are here for the last 3 days, it's happy to be with you today this morning. And this operation took place, as you might have gone through the history of La Salette almost, in 1846, September 19th. Uh, it was on a Saturday, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That was the time of the operation here at La Salette. And as for the explanation, we haven't changed anything of this operation site. We have maintained exactly as it is, the position of the statues, the children from there, and also the top of the statue over there. And actually we have 3 stages of operation. 3 stages, but single operation, 3 stages. The first one, as you see there, Our Lady is sitting on a rock over there, the first step. And the second stage is she is conversing with the children. And as you see the way of the cross from here up there, and that is the third stage, she is going up to heaven. So that's it. So how it began? After completing their lunch on September 19th on Saturday, they went for a little nap over the other side of this mountain. And once they got up there, they couldn't find their cows. So they were a little worried, and they were looking all around, and as they were about coming up on this mountain, they saw the cows were grazing this side. So these 2 children, Maximine and Melanie, were at peace. They said, thank God, finally we found the cows. And then as they were coming down to go to the cows, and then as they reached there, as you see 2 statues there, Maximine and Melanie, as they were coming down, they saw a fire of globe over there at the first station, as I said, the first stage. A fire of globe. They did not see a lady who is sitting there, but a fire of globe. They immediately afraid. They were so much afraid of what is happening there. Like they were about to go back and leave the place. And then that fire of globe slowly vanished. And then they saw a lady seated on a rock over there and covering her face with the 2 hands and crying there. Children obviously thought that a lady might have come from the down village because of her family problems and sorrows. That she wants to cry all alone and pour out all alone. So they thought, let us not disturb the lady, let us move away. But the lady slowly got up from there and moved a little further, as you see, the second stage, and invited those children close to her. And the first words that she said, "Come near, my children, do not be afraid." She was always quoting from the gospel, from the Bible. The whole thing that she spoke about, nothing of her own, all that was of Jesus' words from the gospel and also from the Bible. So then the first words she spoke is, "Come near, my children, do not be afraid." And then, even though a bit reluctant, the 2 children, Maximine and Melanie, came close to her. And the space between Our Lady and these 2 children, there is nobody can pass in between. They were so close, so intimate. And also you see a dog resting on the feet of Maximine. And another peculiarity of this operation, that dog was always so naughty, barking and making all the noise and running around and so on. But throughout this operation, which lasted for almost 20 to 25 minutes, the dog always very calm. No sound even, not even a movement. Always just like as you see, they rested on the feet of the Maximine, or just moving around with them, just like. So that is even also even the presence of God is being attributed to even to the animals. That is another thing. And then she spoke, as you have heard in the video that we watched together. So the messages and the explanations and things are going to happen. And then as she spoke to them, they walked, wanted to see the way of the cross upside, up to the top level. They went through this way, and actually she was not walking. She was just floating on the air. She was just floating. Her feet was not touching on the ground, as per the explanation given by the children. And then they went up, and then Mary gave to each children a separate secret, which they couldn't hear each other. So the secret was given to Melanie. Only Melanie could hear, and then when the secret was given to Maximine, only Maximine could hear. And then she, looking towards the direction of Rome, that is where her face is directed towards, and looking towards Rome, she went up to heaven. So that is the final stage that we call it Assumption. Assumption, the place of Assumption. And then, once the operation, everything is done, the two children went down to the village, explained everything to their family, and they had no idea it was Our Lady who appeared here. And then it was the grandmother of Melanie. She was the one who first said, "You have seen no one else than Our Lady, our mother." So that was the beginning of all the story again. And then they had a conversation with the parish priest, and the next day they came up here to see once again what is happening here and so on. And as you see, there is a protected with the glass, the round, just close to that. That's a miraculous water fountain, which was not there before the apparition, And with regard to the water fountain also, there are connected so many miracles. The first miracle that is quoted, the father of Maximin, who was not going to the church and not religious for more than 20 to 25 years. He was always busy with his business. He was a wheelwrighter of a bullock cart. And then he was always busy, and also he had the problem of asthma. So that was a sickness of his whole life, which was haunting him throughout his life. And then when he heard about it, he just came over here. And also during the apparition, Our Lady spoke about the father of Maximin. And Our Lady asked Maximin, "Have you seen spoiled wheat?" Maximin said, I have not seen. But Mary clearly said, "Last year, when you had gone with your father to a certain place, your father had taken a handful of wheat and showed you, this is the rotten wheat." So then even Mother Mary spoke about his father. So when Maximin told to his father, Mother Mary even spoke about you. He was all the more convinced, and he came over here, drank that water, and immediately he was cured from his asthma, which was there for almost 20 to 25 years. That was the first miracle with regard to the water. And then he never missed any Sunday masses. He was too religious until his death. And there are too many miracles connected to this miraculous fountain. So that's a short explanation that I can give you. I hope you are okay with that.
The fountain, there's also the link with Lourdes, the fountain of Lourdes, the healing.
Yes.
Then also Knock, Our Lady's feet wasn't on the ground. She
Oh
was
yeah,
floating. In Ireland, in Knock, her feet were above the ground as well.
Yes.
She was,
That's
and,
right.
there was a space between the ground and her feet.
And now we have protected with the glass. Why? Because in the earlier times, the pilgrims who came here, they were collecting water from there and it became dirty. So now we have protected with the glass and directed with a pipeline which goes down there. So people are easily collecting from there the holy water. So that's why.
That's lovely.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Bob.
All right.
So for the feast day, you'll have many people.
Oh yeah, sure. We
Yeah.
have thousands of people
and
here.
Mass.
And mass also. Yeah, sure. Last year it was the 170th anniversary of the apparition,
Yeah.
and the cardinal came from Rome. He was the main celebrant of the
Mass.
of the mass. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And this year is 170th, 71st,
71st.
71st. Yeah,
Oh,
because in 1846. So
46.
71st anniversary.
this year.
Yeah, this apparition even before the Fatima, Lourdes, and so on. Yeah, it seems to be one of the first apparition in France, which is accepted by church. Yeah. There are also so many apparitions. People have devotion to that, but unfortunately, the church has not declared it as a truth, and you can have devotion to it. But certain apparitions like La Salette, Lourdes, Fatima, all these are approved apparitions. Yeah. Because the thorough study has been done from the part of the church and also from the other authorities. It doesn't mean that other apparitions are not valid. That as long as we have the faith to that apparition, yeah,
Yes.
miracles works.
Yes. And in the church,
Yeah.
what were you going to?
I was just planning to explain you the structure, because the pillars, as you see there, all those pillars inside the basilica is not of concrete. this is stone upon stone. It's
Right.
all pillars of rock. And also the face of Jesus just above the altar.
Yes.
I was just planning to explain you that because the face has two aspects. On the one side you will see a brownish cross, on the other side a bluish color. Brownish cross, which means that is a human life is always suffering. There are sufferings. But on the other hand, on the left side, light blue shows that is wherever Mary appeared, she had always a kind of a light blue color, which represents the joy of heaven. So the mixture of that color on the face of Jesus in the basilica is that of even then our life is full of sorrows and pains and sufferings, but still God is present. And once you are able to realize and once you are able to find that presence of God in you, that all things becomes a joyful moments. And also the two hands. One hand of Jesus is shown as a hand of a man. Another hand of Jesus is shown as a hand of a woman, which means God is all the more powerful. At the same time, He is so compassionate and loving. Because the hand of a woman, the normal natural personality and the nature of a woman is compassion and loving. But on the other hand, man is always depicted as so powerful and so rigid and so on. So which means God is so powerful, at the same time He is compassionate and so loving. So
That is a beautiful
Do you
explanation.
the two pictures at each side of the altar has two eyes?
oh yeah, that is one picture is of a wedding at Cana,
Yeah.
which is very much explained in modern times. Even though the dress of a bride and bridegroom is a very typical style of Jewish culture, and the rest of the people who are there at the wedding is with a tie and the modern way of dressing. And the two eyes, what you see there, the bride and the bridegroom clearly explains to Jesus, we are lacking of wine. And then why the bridegroom has three eyes, one, two, and another one is almost here like. That is a spiritual eye. She knows that if I tell to Jesus something, that will surely take place. She has a vision of a spiritual eye, extra an eye. We all of us has that, but it's our responsibility to visualize in the spiritual, through the spiritual eye, and things will happen to us. That is the reality of the third eye.
Is there anything else in the?
And that's all, I suppose.
The young boy's heart.
Is Maximum's heart?
He's buried in the basilica.
It's buried.
Yeah,
For the
In the-
black plaque
on the
is,
black plaque on the wall.
it's
Only
behind-
his heart.
behind that
Only his heart.
Only his heart.
Yeah, rest of his body is buried in the
corner.
core,
In
in
core.
the cemetery, and his tomb is there. The house of Melanie is there in the
Yeah.
core.
And you can visit.
You can visit
Or
the
you can
house
visit.
and I might ask, we have a Muslim driving the minibus.
Okay.
I'll ask him to stop at Melanie's house on the way down.
Oh yeah, that's on the core.
He probably will. If I,
Yeah, it's a matter of just getting knowing the situation of the family, and it's a very small house. There were, I think, there were 11 children in the family, and imagine that the house is maintained in such a way as it was before. Only the roof is little renovated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Melanie is sometimes Matthew, and then Calvat. What's the difference?
Oh no, that's her family name, Melanie Calvat.
Calvat.
Yeah. Maximin Girard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a family name. That is, I don't know what is the confusion.
No, I was confused because it said in a book I read Melanie Matthew, and then brackets Calvat.
The French names normally it has 2 or 3
Two or
names,
three,
yeah,
like
so
the Spanish.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah, okay.
that's all about the family.
Okay. Okay.
And is there Melanie's the man she worked for?
Melanie, okay.
Is his house round here, or is it?
Oh yeah, it's even right down there. Not exactly on the in Core, but even before you reach Core, it's close to La Salette village.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you take a round about this little mountain, which is cross over there behind
Yes.
Yeah, on the planner, if you take a round about, you can see the house and also the village from where the children came up.
Yeah.
If you wish, we can make a walk around if you have time. It's 11 o'clock if you want to.
Want to
Okay.
walk around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to?
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
so we'll make a
If you have
little
time.
faster move because we need to
okay.
leave
Yes.
by
12.
yeah, 12.
12 o'clock.
Anybody hasn't packed too bad.
What time do we leave?
12
12.
o'clock. Kareem will be here at 12. I'll ask him, will he stop at Melnie's house?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Oh, I think it's essential.
Have you seen?
I've been in
You've
it.
been in
I've
it,
been in
right?
Not here, that one.
This one,
Yeah,
to the right.
yeah, this. From that village, Maximin came up, and the Melanie's house, even though she is from poor, she used to stay with the master's house. So both of them staying in a close by houses. So that's a house from there, village from there they came up, and usually they take the cows through the valley. See, this valley up through that valley, and they usually come up over there. That's the way they usually come. They used to come up or grazing the cows. Yeah. Even there is a pathway to go down. If you go down there is 3 kilometers, or this village is 1 kilometer walking down. And you see a small church. If you can make out there.
Yes.
That is a place where first declared about the apparition, the parish priest. Those days it was a parish with lots of people here, almost the number of people who were living here around 25 to 30,000.
Yeah.
Now you see we have hardly few houses and all migrate to the city, so we don't have too many people living here, but I don't know, maybe 5,000 maximum of around this village. So those days, and that was the first church where they declared like the message of La Salette and the apparition of La Salette. So then from there it began the whole story. And you see the road around this
Yes,
mountain.
yeah.
That's the way you came up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the way you came up. Oh yeah, not this road, but on the other side at the end.
Oh
You see? Yeah. Then you came up or round up.
Yeah.
It's expensive to buy a house for yourself.
I don't know, sir.
I'm going to buy one, Mark.
No, I'm only asking about
And as you came up, you might have seen also a Canadian cemetery. Did you notice?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
You know, that was a pilgrimage of priests and nuns in 1954, in the month of November. They were coming from Rome and going to Lourdes. And they were on the plane with almost 42 priests and 7 or 8 nuns and the crews. And as those days, in 1954, the technology was not advanced, and the climate was so harsh with the whole cloudy and winter. The pilot couldn't make out that there was a mountain right in front of the flight. The flight kit on the mountain, top of the mountain, all died on the spot. Almost the age group between 40 and 52, the priests. Almost 42 Canadian priests, Canadian pilgrimage group, and all nuns and all the crews all died. And the government of Canada, they bought a piece of land over there and brought down all the bodies and they buried there. So on the way, if you want to stop and just see there, they have the names and everything. We have the Saturday. It's Saturday the
Maybe Saturday the bus, Father.
Yeah, stay you come here.
This is it.
So like that.
Are we going down? No.
Now you go straight. No way of going down.
Jump.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, just go over here. It's almost 10,000 feet above the sea level. Yeah.
Many feet we said.
10,000 feet above the sea level, the mountain, where the plane
where the
crashed. The plane crashed.
But had they intended to come to La Salette on pilgrimage? Yeah.
No. They were going
to Lourdes.
No, yeah, from Rome to Lourdes. On the way to Lourdes, the plane crashed on the
okay,
mountain.
Okay.
Yeah. 18. No,
1954.
1954. If I'm not wrong, it's November 8th.
Year.
Marine year, yeah, exactly. So that was a marine pilgrimage they were doing. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
They brought down the stone pieces from there with the help of a bullock cart and a horse cart and so on. And you see a little path down there to down to the basilica. So from there they brought down all the stone pieces. During those days we cannot even imagine how they
did it.
Oh my God! Even today when we think of it, it's very.
I came here nearly 30 years ago.
30 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
In a bus, and coming up the road, it was so narrow.
Oh yes.
Oh, people were fainting on the bus, you know.
Oh really? Even today, when some people who are not used to the mountains, when they come up by bus, oh my God, they will shivering like when they explain that.